Hey there, beautiful souls. I'm Colynn Hlokoff.
And I'm Meridee Hlokoff.
And welcome to Spiritual Sisters with Sass, the podcast where two sisters with a passion for spirituality and a touch of sass come together to explore the exciting world of self-improvement.
That's right, Colynn. We embarked on this incredible journey together, diving into different self-improvement techniques, yoga practices, and a whole array of life experiences.
Yeah, and through it all, we've managed to create lives that are abundant, happy, and constantly evolving. It's been a wild ride, hasn't it, Meridee?
You bet, sis. We've got two very different perspectives on life, but that's what makes this podcast so special. I'm all about diving in head first into life's adventures and embracing every challenge with a bit of sass. While Colynn here, she's got her own unique approach.
Yep, that's me. And I'm all about the yoga, mindfulness, and finding my zen. And together we make the perfect balance.
So whether you're looking for some wisdom, a few laughs, or just some heartfelt stories, you're in the right place. We're here to share our personal experiences and insights with you, all while exploring the wild and diverse world of self-improvement.
So grab your headphones and get ready for a fantastic journey with us. Spiritual Sisters with Sass is here to uplift, inspire, and keep it real.
Thanks for tuning in, lovely listeners. Let's dive in.
Spirit and sass. Here we go. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. And today I suggested that we dive a little bit deeper into something that I've been noticing in a lot of my clients, my partner, myself, my sister, literally anyone that is awakening and becoming aware of our patterns. So thanks, Meridee, for being open and vulnerable. Of course, Meridee's like, yeah, I'll be vulnerable. Let's go all the way in. And I'm like, wait. Some of the info I brought you, I just got. So there's we're just gonna stick to kind of more
generalization.
Yeah. So what am I talking about? I'm talking about the fact that once we wake up and become aware of our subconscious patterns, we become aware of the fact that we behave a certain way because of something that we learned in childhood, we can then recognize a pattern. What I've been noticing is that many people then are like, oh, that's amazing. So I behave this way because when I was a kid, my mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, whatever, reacted this way. And so now, whenever something comes up, now that I've recognized this pattern, I'm just going to blame it on that person for the rest of my life and maybe not heal it. And I know this is a very unconscious thing. So that's why I thought, let's look at this. And since we have our own shit with our own parents, it can be really beneficial for us to recognize this as well. Because if I'm seeing it in someone else, it's because it's in me.
Yep.
And we have a chance to maybe heal a little bit of it today. So thanks for being open, Mare.
So let's dig straight into it, because it started because Lynn said, I felt like I jumped down your throat at the end of our last podcast. And I was like, you did? Sorry, what? Not that means that it's like normalcy for her to jump at me. I'm just used to being open to like digging into it. I said something. Okay, let's talk about what I said, because yeah, maybe there's something further and more subconscious about it. So at the end of our podcast, what was it that you said that you felt was digging into me or coming at me? Because again, I still am like, you did? Sorry, what?
I remember like Lucius said something, and then I said, yeah, see, this is what I think kind of goes on with you sometimes is blah, 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 blah with mom. And then I do remember like a face, but maybe it's because I was waiting for it. and then we just kind of continued on. So, okay, what the fuck am I talking about? Because I do feel like all over the place today. So,
Fair.
Okay, So here it is. You're a kid. Remember, we've got the like subconscious mind, it's open, and we're taking in info from everyone around us, the news, like based on our age, no internet, but the news and what we hear on the radio, and then our parents continually like money doesn't grow on trees and nothing free is ever worth it, or like hard work is makes you valuable. Like all of those things kind of go in and settle in our brain. And then we can create a story. This is the key point that I think sometimes we miss. We as children create a story about ourselves. We then play out for the rest of our lives. So, my example, I'm not lovable. I know that comes from mom. Like, see, there it is right there. It's like it comes from mom, and that's blaming her. I'm
I
fat.
feel like it's not though. Like I feel like right now you're being a little hypersensitive to it because you're not blaming her. You're acknowledging where the initiation came from. So you wouldn't have this if it wasn't for her. That's not blaming her. That's the reality of it. That's the fact that if she hadn't done certain things, we wouldn't be certain ways. That doesn't negate from the fact that we still have our own healing to do and our own journeys to be on just because someone said or did something in our lives.
See,
so yes, you feel unlovable, same as I do. And that's the thing that, like I said to you this morning, I realized this. I've always had self-confidence, but self-confidence comes from external validation and external sources, and it changes with that. Whereas self-worth comes from inside you. It's internal. It can't be shifted. It can't be changed by external things. And that's the piece I don't have.
Right.
And that is because of the way that I was spoken to as a child. It is because you weren't good enough, or you were told multiple times, like, shut up, be quiet, dim your light, etc., etc. The reality of that, though, is that we choose whether we carry that forward or not once we become aware and awakened.
Right. So awesome. I agree 100%. And if being impeccable with our word is key to our success, to continue to blame, like I got it from this, I think is negating the fact that we still have to do our work, because we can just continually blame this person for implanting a story that actually we created. Like the 3-year-old that, okay, how about the story with dad? Like dad says, don't worry if you're a couple pounds overweight. 6-year-old Colynn hears, I'm fat. And then that's a story. I'm fat. I'm fat. I'm fat. I battled with it my entire life. I'm fat. I'm fat. I'm fat. I'm fat. So can I blame dad? Sure. And then I can just blame dad for being fat for the rest of my life because he was such a dick because he said this, 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 and this.
Yeah.
Or I can recognize that a 6-year-old heard you're fat. I heard I'm fat. I created the story I'm fat. I have battled with that story since. That
our
to
interpretations change the
yes.
story within ourselves, for sure. Absolutely. I
So
think though that still that, like, it's not blaming by saying this is where it came from, because that's acknowledging, okay, so this is where it came from, which then gives us a place to start healing. So I don't feel like that's a blame place. That's okay, so this is where it came from.
100% initially. At the beginning, yes, this is where the story came from. So that you can now recognize that it's not you, like the part of you that is God, right? That we've talked about, right? In non-dualistic yoga, there's no separation. We're all a part of this co-creation, blah, 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 blah. Right? When you say mean things about yourself, you're saying mean things about God because you're part of it, and God is just like the universe. That's it, right? So when I say I'm fat, and then I'm like, that's because my dad said that the perfect woman has a thigh gap, and therefore I'll never be the perfect woman. Therefore, I will seek male attention to try to be like, to validate. So if I get male attention, there's self-confidence, but I will still not have self-worth. That's how perfect that you like said that. And then this is what we're
Right?
talking about, right? As always. Okay, so what is really going to help me shift from self-confidence to self-worth and not give a fuck what any man or woman thinks about me is to recognize, okay, we have this moment of acknowledgement. That's where the pattern came from. That was me taking what my parents said and then making it my own story.
Mhm.
But for me to continue to pound that is just keeping me in this place of actually not healing. That's what I'm saying. That's what I mean by it's blaming. It's like, okay, the reason I think I'm fat is because of my dad. And then that's where I stunt my growth.
So this is surfacing for me. This is that the thing that you said to me a long time ago, which is think about how many times, for example, when I was 3, that I heard that same word over and over. It's a place to come back to acknowledge and heal that spot, because you can't heal all of those events if, say, it was every single day of your life from the time that you were 3 years old until the time that you were 43 years old, that every single day of your life you heard that same thing multiple times a day. We're going to have to heal that multiple things or multiple times. It's not just, oh, I healed the first time I ever remember hearing it. It's, we have all these multiple places to heal it from. So again, I agreed not to go blame, but to acknowledge, okay, so where did this story come from? That's that get quiet with yourself, close your eyes, meditate, figure out where you are need to heal this spot. So maybe it is that you close your eyes and you see your dad saying that same thing multiple times and you only remember it the one time, but the multiple times is the times that you're trying to heal, not that you're trying to blame, that there was multiple times this was said and each time needs to be healed. Because I don't want to say that I blame mom for anything in my life, because my life is fantastic. So if I'm blaming her for anything in my life, she gets credit for everything that's in my life, and I'm not going to give her that credit. I have created the life that I have. I have created the outcome that I have, which also goes to those same things. I have learned to, I don't want to say forgive her. What's the word I'm looking for? I've learned to be grateful for all the things that I've gone through, because all of the things that I've gone through have created who I am. Right? No, I'm not going to be thankful that she came at me, that she sued me, that any of those things. I'm not going to be grateful for those things or to her for those things. But at the same time, I'm grateful that I've experienced the things I've experienced because of who I've become. I can't then give her credit for her suing me for me being a better person. So I also can't blame her for her saying the same story that created this lack of self-worth. Right? So for me, if you're going to blame them, you then need to give them the credit for the current life that you have. Right? I'm not going to give her credit for the great relationship that Brooke and I have because of the shitty relationship that her and I had. I do acknowledge that she did the best she could with what she had at the time, because I've also been there as well. But that doesn't take away from the things that it created for me and took away from me. However, blaming her for those things is getting me nowhere.
Right.
And again, if I have to blame her, then she better get credit for all the other things in my life that are the opposite because of it.
That I like 100% agree with that. Yet, okay, like, well, I want to say like, okay, you get to be different, but then that doesn't sit well, because here I've got like, I know you and your awakening and the path that you're on, especially where you are right now, like exponential growth from even 6 months ago, even a year ago.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. And sometimes I still feel like there's a lot of hurt in there. And I think that
Oh,
emotional
1000%.
I think that emotional attachment coupled with those words still offsets the personal responsibility of your ego being created at 3 to protect you. Like it offsets that inner work piece, because I'm this way because this person said this. So I think initially it's important as acknowledgement, like you're saying. There is the acknowledgement. hey, like I had it in teacher training. I was like, holy shit, I'm looking for male attention. I just realized this is why I don't like women, because in my, see right here, in my story, women hurt me, and then I'm looking for attention from a male. So this is why at 20, how old was I? No, I was in my 30s, I think, by the time I took teacher training. I realized, oh, this is why, because I was in a group of 20 women. This is why I don't like women. And then, of course, who did I become friends with? I became friends with a woman that was like really manipulative and kind of broke the fucking group apart. So by the time we were finished teacher training, she's like not the coolest person. And she caused all this drama. It was kind of ew. And of course, that would be the one woman that I actually like got the closest to.
Of course.
Of course. And let's dive into that story. And I'm going
I
to
was
tell you.
just gonna say, let's
I'll
talk
tell
about
you.
that, because the person that we dig into or that you would have found to be the closest, you were trying to get her approval because she was so much like our mother.
So then we can, and now I'm just blaming it on mom again. Mom
See,
and
I
dad.
don't feel like that. I feel like that's not blaming anybody. I feel like you're acknowledging that you have a pattern of going back to, and I do as well, of going back to the people that are not necessarily healthy for us.
Great.
That's
So
not blaming mom for it. That's just acknowledging that the place that this initially stemmed is from our childhood, and don't even put it on mom or dad, just say from our childhood.
that's the difference, is we both mentioned mom, and not this stems from my childhood and my own story of women hurt me and men. I mean, men fucking hurt me too. So that's like, the story is that I, in my own trauma, have a magnetic attraction, aka a trauma bond, to like a perfect match with my own trauma. Which one
I
sounds
like the way
better?
you put that, a perfect match with my own trauma. Because
Yeah.
then it's not I think because of the things you're experiencing right now in life, you're holding a little too tightly onto like this, I'm blaming her for everything, and you're not blaming her. We're just acknowledging that this is where the pattern stemmed from.
Yep. But
And
we've
and
already like, we
no,
already
no,
know
I realize
that.
that. But here's the thing is, if we're going to compare, who else do you have to compare to? Yes, you could be like, oh, well, there's this other woman that was manipulative in my life that was, oh, right, like my mother. Everyone has that. The closest ones and the people who cause us the most trauma are our caretakers, the ones that we spend the most
Right.
time with. That's going to come back to mom and dad.
You just said it. You just said it. You just said it. They caused our trauma.
Do you not feel that that's true though?
Here's where
Like I get it. I
yep,
do. And I hear
yep,
that like the words that were said were interpreted in our own way. I
yep,
understand that.
yep.
But, and okay, because I don't want to but and negate anything I just said.
Yep.
And that is the reality of it. I don't feel like I'm still blaming her. It's just that when I'm going to compare to additional relationships, even in the men I've dated, they have ties or like, for example, let's go back to Kevin. And I do parenthesize that because his name was not
It's
Kevin.
not
And I feel
Kevin.
bad
Yeah.
because of the one Kevin I did date. If you are still listening to our podcast, we're not talking about you.
We're not talking about you.
We're not. But the non-existent Kevin that we were talking about, he had all these traits that, yes, when I go to compare, were very much like mom. The way he talked to me, the way he cut me down, the way he manipulated me, that comes back to mom. I'm not blaming him for being like mom. I'm not blaming mom for me picking this guy. My pattern is that I am more comfortable with someone cutting me down than I am with someone who raises me up.
That's it though. Can you see the difference in what you're saying? This is to me like that extra layer that I'm starting to see by listening to my clients. The full personal responsibility is that my pattern is to have chaos in my life. And therefore, I lean towards chaotic people.
And
I don't know how to
finding
even say
relationships
that.
like
Like,
that. Yeah.
because I'm seeing the relationships that I have and the people that I choose to get close to. And I think about a person that I got close to that is unwell. So unwell, she bought property next to me in fucking Costa Rica. And then just blew shit up in a teacher training. And blames me, and that's fine. I don't even give a shit. That's cool. What I see is, okay, I can blame her. What I see is a repeated pattern of a certain type of behavior.
Relationship that you're used to.
And to be honest, like a typical diagnosis that these people that I invite into my life repeat.
Yes.
So
Yes.
in none of that did I say any of our parents. I've recognized, I know where it came from. I've already done this work. I don't need to fucking say it again, because I think if I do, there's a bit of me energetically that's offsetting and blaming. I don't need to fucking, oh, this is because of mom, this is because of dad, this is because of, I don't know, fucking granny. Like, none of that's true, but like, I don't think I
Well,
need to.
we could put it off and say, Mom, Dad, you, because you were my other parent.
Right.
Right. So there's lots of places we can put this off. But
Right.
also in the podcast, have you noticed that I have never blamed Lynn? I have noticed this as a pattern for me. I don't blame you. I always take it back to mom. Even though in that you were more of a parent than mom was in a lot of ways. I think if we're going to talk about this blame thing, this is actually really interesting, because as I'm talking about it, it's surfacing. I know, here it goes. I blamed mom for your behavior because you were taught how to behave and you behaved in accordance with what you were taught. And then you, being 13 fucking months older than me, that's it. 13 months older than me, parented me because I wasn't parented. And when I was parented, it was with violence, manipulation. So
Well,
I
see,
don't blame you in my life when I acknowledge these things. I
right.
still, and we, even in our retreat that we did, I never blamed you. And then I didn't even acknowledge that until the last day. And all of a sudden I was like, I'm so fucking tired of, and then it all surfaced.
Right.
And then I realized, oh my God, my sister was my mom.
And I hear you, and then I still hear blaming, because when I share stories with Rafa, we compare childhoods sometimes, right? About like, it's a bit of a bonding thing, like
Yep.
similar childhoods. And what I remember still is like, one of the things that I remember is super fun is the water fights we would get into. Never food, but water. I mean, that house, we could be pouring water all over the fucking place. And as long as mom was in it, we would not get in trouble. There were buckets of water poured everywhere in the house, in the kitchen. There was hoses. There was, I mean, like
Okay, so I'm having a moment right now of understanding my son's lack of remembering, because there's like these pieces that I remember a hose being in the house. I don't know why. I barely remember these pieces. And yet my son says the same thing to me. I'm like, do you remember the Nerf fights that we used to have? And his best friend is like, dude, I remember them. How do you not? You know,
right.
game night. Caden's like, I don't remember those. I'm like, how do you not remember these things? Like, I fucking went out of my way to give you the best childhood ever. And he doesn't remember them. And now I'm having that very moment right now where I'm like, I kind of remember this, but I don't really remember this.
This is why I think that it does tend to lean to blaming, because what you said was you were never parented, and that's not true, because mom and dad parented us.
Yeah, they did.
And we may not agree with the way they parented us, and there was still good times. There was a lot of them. It's not like mom beat us every fucking day. It would be that things turned bad. And then, like when I started having kids, I kind of actually understood it a little bit more. And so to continue in this way, I think it's not letting us fully heal. It's continuing to be like, this is why I am the way I am. And while I'm slowly working on it and healing it, I'm still fucking blaming other people, because there was never a good day in my childhood. I'm generalizing and kind of like exaggerating for
Mm,
effect to kind of see the
mhm.
energetics of it. Whereas it's like, we know where it came from. We got it. We're pretty fucking clear on that. So how about now we start to take responsibility for the patterns that we have? We don't need to say because mom, because dad. We got that. We're clear fucking, I mean, so many years ago when we started doing this work.
Yeah.
So what would it look like to be like, okay, so the pattern I developed is this. I am attracted to chaos. I'm starting to see that now. And even when I don't have chaos, I create it.
Yeah.
And so if I bring in someone that's chaotic, that and I'm a martyr. So it's to me right now, I want to tell you why. And I don't think I have to anymore because I'm not 8, I'm not 10, I'm not 13, I'm not 17. I'm 40, almost 5 years old. And I'm not protecting my sister. I'm not protecting my brother anymore. Or I don't want to because you guys are grown ass adults that can protect yourself.
Mhm.
What I am recognizing is chaos is comfortable. And when something is healthy, I call it boring. And I don't need to blame anybody for it except myself because I've just continued the patterns all my life.
Yes. I remember first started to move away from the drama. As you call it chaos, I called it drama. And I started moving away from it. And I remember feeling exactly the same thing. I remember feeling like my life was boring, for one. And two, I started to really notice that, like, if there wasn't drama in my life, I would then create it. And as soon as I acknowledged that, like, you're creating the drama that you're saying you don't want in your life, it like changed me. Like, I was incredibly affected by the fact that I was like, oh my God, because that was very much, and here I go, that was very much what we grew up with. So for me, moving out of that was so uncomfortable. And though I was able to move out of the actions of, I then started having all this anxiety. Anytime drama came into my life, all of a sudden I was filled with anxiety. And so now, in some ways, like, it surfaces, like, I'll get a message from one of my team, say Laser Quit team, and they'll say something. And just seeing their message come up, I'm like, oh no, what's happening? God forbid it could be good. So then I get this, like, fuck, oh, shit. Okay, let's just check it and get this over with. And then it's like, hey, my client came in and was so excited about it. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, Meridee, like, what the hell? Right. So moving out of that drama, I definitely started to get anxious about any kind of drama that would move in. That being said, in order to keep that drama, I kept dating the same type of person.
Right.
So I no longer created the drama. I no longer had the, as you put it, the chaos, but I allowed other people to have it in my life because that kept me slightly more comfortable with it.
We have the same story. It's being the martyr. We have someone else, but we can always end up being the good guy. Because I can tell you any story with almost any person where I haven't been the dick because I've been people pleasing. But like
Mhm.
technically, also the fact that I didn't speak up is me being the dick.
Okay, I'm the dick though. Let's be real. And we've talked about this where I don't know what it is that you did, but being able to stand and have you standing in front of me where I could be over your shoulder being like, yo, motherfucker. Yeah. Yeah. What are you going to do about it? Like, getting all tough with people. It allowed me to say my truth. That being said, I've grown as well. So now I'm not like the tough guy over your shoulder, but I'm very, very honest with, I'm super authentic. So when I think something, I say it. And then if there's moments where, somebody's like, wow, you're an asshole, I'm like, oh, am I though? And then I look at myself. Did I say something just to be an asshole? Did I say something out of truth, out of my own truth? Did I say this because, like, why did I say it if it hurt them that much? A lot of times the truth hurts and people don't want to hear it. So there's obviously going to be that piece.
Did you hear that you are giving me creds for certain behaviors you have though?
Yeah, but I feel like I wouldn't have had that if I didn't have certain things in my life growing up.
Okay, so let's look at this then as like another level to the energetics of it because you're giving me creds for good stuff and mom creds for bad stuff and dad or whatever. And it's exactly the same thing. Now, we're saying it came from childhood, right? How long are we children for? just give me how many years were children for?
18 years, we'll say.
Okay. So then we've now doubled that, right?
Plus.
Plus. So isn't it funny that at 45 years old, where I've done 0 to 18, and then I've done 0 to 18, and now I'm starting 0 to 18 again, and I'm making my way through that third cycle, I'm still blaming childhood shit.
So
it's not anymore. The seed has grown. I don't look at an apple
1000%.
tree, right, and then be like, oh, this is because of the seed. I look at the fruit of the apple tree being the apple. So I think the next, I feel like this is something. I feel like the next level is really owning the fact that like this is a pattern that I have, and it doesn't fucking matter where it came from anymore, because I'm 45 years old and I keep doing it, and it doesn't fucking matter. I keep befriending people that are chaotic, and it doesn't matter who in my childhood was chaotic. I keep doing this. And the only way that I am going to heal is if I realize that it's me.
And I don't disagree. I don't. I do feel that either way, we've been given experiences that allow us to become who we are. Again, that experience was for you to then become, the people pleaser, the one who stopped the fights, the one who could be the good guy in all of the stories. Also, we both have this story where we're the black sheep of the family. And then we would talk about that and you'd be like, you're not the black sheep. And I'm like, dude, you're not the black sheep. So we're both just the black sheep of this family.
But so is Travis, and so is mom, and so is dad, because we're all a bunch of weirdos.
Right? So it's like where we came from definitely helps to create who you are, but you start making choices. So like, yes, I had these experiences, but those experiences then helped me to understand certain things that I didn't want or that I did want, and that I then made choices moving forward into. And that's the whole point of what you're saying is you started out here, but it eventually becomes choices and options, and you continue to do those behaviors. And so when do you start to acknowledge one or the other? And when do you stop blaming versus start taking responsibility and saying like, hey, I made the choice. Like, yes, this was my pattern, but I decided that I didn't want that relationship with my own daughter. So I made a choice to start doing things differently. So where is that line then of blame to acknowledgement? Right? And each one of us is going to be totally different.
I think, to be honest, as I think about it, because what I'm doing really is getting clear on like my coaching process, right? In my business and supporting other people and growing their business. What I'm noticing I'm lacking is some really important foundational aspects, right? We've already talked about this: core values, ideal client. And now I'm getting clear on like the program that I offer. If I was really clear on it, then I could express to everyone exactly how I do this, right? So now I'm paying attention to more of like how I get a client. Oh shit, the first thing we talk about is subconscious, unconscious, or subconscious, conscious mind, and getting clear on your story. Because no matter what, that is the root of it all. This story that you have in your head is exactly why you're doing everything that you're doing. And in the nervous system is just because you've chosen this like ingrained wired path of thinking, and it's just created a super highway to like, this is how things are. Okay, I get it. Yeah, it stems always mom, dad, or whoever raised you. So now we got it. Great. This is not new. But for me to be 45 years old and still saying, oh, I'm friends with chaotic people, because to be honest, it's not just mom that was chaotic. I remember dad coming home like beat up and not in the best situations himself, right? So like we just had chaos. And even if we looked, and that Nan and Grandy like supported that. And then we had this other grandparent that was over here kind of an asshole. So we've got like this chaotic family. And
Mhm.
it's not really mom and dad's fault because they themselves fucking have the same story as us,
Descended from it. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So in order for us to be the one, because I think like in this age of awakening, now we have all of these people that are stopping the epigenetics. They're stopping the generational trauma of
Breaking the
carrying out,
patterns.
yes, the same bullshit. So yeah, if I choose not to hit my kids, I just stopped something. Hopefully, because they could then choose to hit their kids if they wanted because of their trauma based on whatever it is. Like, is that my fault? Because I was hit, so then I didn't hit my kids, which then made them spoil, and then they fucking hit their kids.
Because
Is
they
that my
didn't experience,
fault?
right? That's that pendulum going from the one end to the other
Yes.
end, and then maybe their kids find the middle again, but then it could go to the other end. Like
Yes.
the pendulum swings, period.
So for me to like actually just stop befriending chaotic people would be
Well,
for
it's
me to,
interesting because with me in this dating thing, like, why am I attracting the people I'm attracting? Because one of the things that I will tell you that I have noticed that I attract people who are intimidated by me. And in my eyes, there's nothing to be intimidated by. I have self-discipline, so I do the things I say I'm going to do. I am, in my opinion, and this may come with some of that self-worth work that I do. In my opinion, I'm successful enough. I'm not successful. But everyone's definition of success is different. And I've all of a sudden realized that like a lot of my friends, their opinions and the things they'll say, I'm like, wow, do you guys have any idea what my financial situation actually looks like? Because everyone seems to think I'm like this millionaire. And I'm like, do I put that off? Is it like, what are we attracting? Are you okay? You're moving. You need to move because I'm never sure if you're freezing or not. So like for me, seeing that there's like the type of people that I am attracting. So the guys that I'm attracting often are intimidated by me. They act like they're not, and then they show up, they're here, and suddenly they're intimidated by me and running from me. That's fine. I don't want someone who's intimidated by me anyways, but that's why did I invite that guy in first? Byron actually made a point to me of, I'm not sure that you could handle somebody who encouraged you to shine. And I was like, what? And he might even be right. I don't know, because I don't know that I've ever attracted that type of person. I think that's going to come with that self-worth. Because again, I've always had self-confidence. I don't know that I've ever had self-worth. I lack self-worth. I have tons of self-confidence. That's external surface or external circumstances that help me to keep thinking I'm kind of awesome. Whereas my self-worth is I'm worthy of love. Those two things are very different. So looking at why I bring these people in, I'm kind of seeing that there's like, they're very similar to me. They have self-confidence. They have very little self-worth. So I intimidate their self-confidence because they have no self-worth. So I want to work, and I am working on myself, my worthiness every day. And apparently this isn't one of those things where like, hey, I did the work and then I don't have to do the work anymore. Literally, this is one of those things that like, you're forever going to keep doing the work to keep your worthiness. Now acknowledging that, I'm like, okay, it's something I'm going to work on for the rest of my life, and I'm okay with that. But to understand why I'm attracting these people is because of what's happening inside. The outside is a reflection. So the people that are coming to me are similar to me in the sense that they have lots of self-confidence, and external circumstances control our self-confidence. So then I show up and I'm all like, hey, look at me glow. I'm kind of awesome. And they're like, oh, that takes away from how awesome I am and takes away from their self-confidence. Now they're not worthy or confident, and that takes away from their wholeness in their opinions. Because most of us don't even know the difference between our worthiness and our self-confidence. I didn't know until I read the goddamn book today.
right.
Like that was a huge, holy shit, aha moment for me. And by the way, I have invited her to be on our podcast. She is a famous author. We'll see if she comes. But it is something I have applied for because even in her book, she got Oprah Winfrey's number. And she never contacted her for 4 years. So I was like, I ain't waiting 4 years. This woman is already helping me, like just this part of this book. I am going to add. So I tagged her on my story today. She responded personally And then I said, I would love to have you on my podcast. I know this is out of nowhere. She sent me the link and said, here, apply here. I don't always get to all the people, but I will be rooting for you. Let's see if she shows up for our podcast or not. This could be amazing. She literally, her book, if you guys are looking to work on your worthiness versus your self-confidence, look up Worthy by Lima Kern. I bought the book and didn't think much of it. And I was like, I don't know if I even need this. And then I started reading the book and I was like, shit. So I'm
Well,
excited to move my way
to
through
make
the
it
book.
happen, I will tag her on the story today. Send me the info, and then I
Yes.
will apply as well so that we show up twice.
Yes. Yes.
Okay?
Because this woman, like she created this event, you guys, that like, holy shit, she had all the famous people. She had Oprah, she had Tony Robbins, even if they were showing up for 10 minutes. She had
Yep.
Ed Milet, she had Jay Shetty. All these people showed up for this event. I signed up for the VIP and it got me the book. It also put some food on some tables because, of course, Tony Robbins got involved, and I'm sure that was like his deal because you know as well as I do
Yep.
that's his thing, feeding people. And so I did the VIP event. I found it, inspirational, but I was like, like
Yeah.
I feel like
But-
it's something I've done before kind of thing.
Right.
And then I started reading this book and I was like, holy shit, like aha moment. Wow. So
Okay.
acknowledging that.
And Dana said on here, she's like, oh, she wants to know what the book is.
It's called Worthy. That's the name of it. It is all shiny, you guys. It is like sparkly. I love it. It's sparkly. It is called Worthy. It's by Jamie. I want to say it's Lima, Lima Kern, Kern.
Okay.
Great
Cool.
book. She talks about like her weight being a major factor in her happiness, and when she loses the weight or sticks to her fitness, that she'll actually feel better about herself, and then realizes that's self-confidence and that she doesn't really give a shit about her self-confidence. You need both, but
Right.
we really need to work on our self-worth.
You're welcome, Dana. And then we've got, oh yeah, okay. Samasta is sharing as well. Thank you. But I want to go back to it. So let's just think about this. Okay, you know why you're attracted to douchebags. We've already talked about this.
Yes.
We've labeled them
Yes.
douchebags, but not all the people, so you called it, it's great, and we know where it comes from, right? That you're used to being called down. Now, the only person that really gets credit for it is mom. Not, oh, I was just about to say first and last name. Not some dude that you dated that was good looking when you were a teenager. Not your husband. I don't know if he was like that, if he called you down.
No,
while
he wasn't really like that too much. No, he was,
Okay.
yeah, he was.
Like, because it started here, but then it continued for another how
By
many
choices
years?
that I made
Right.
to
So,
continue picking those people.
right. And in previous conversations, we've talked about, well, it's mom telling you don't shine. But the reality is like that can't keep being the story. Because it's also this person and this person and this person and this person. It doesn't matter if the seed planted here, you continue without seeing, and the universe is like giving you these people that
To give you
perfectly
an
match the trauma,
opportunity.
right?
Yeah.
To heal it.
Yes.
But instead, I'm gonna be like, oh, that's because of mom. This is where I think like it's just like, yes, 100% the acknowledgement from completely unconscious people that traumatized, like, see, I just about said it, that traumatized us, that we're part of the creation of our trauma. And once we've recognized that, we can let it go. Like, we have the opportunity to forgive them, because I don't think that anybody purposefully does it. I don't.
I feel like the people that do, they have a purpose here and they're here to do it for that reason.
They're not doing it on purpose. It's like you just said. It's like when someone is a real jerk, they have a superiority complex because of inferiority. So they're still not conscious to it. They're not like, oh my God, I am God and you're a piece of shit.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
instead, they're like, oh my God, I'm such a piece of crap. I'm just going to call you a piece of crap. And they're
Well,
not
they're
aware.
not acknowledging, yeah, they're not acknowledging that. Like that's the same as, and it's in this book, she even says, like, narcissism is not this intentional, they're so awesome and they actually think they're awesome. It actually comes from the place that they're so insecure that this
Yes.
just ends up surfacing.
It's a personality disorder. And the idea is that who we are in this life right now is based on all of our experiences. Our personality that we call Colynn, Meridee, Dana, Samasta, any of those things is based off of us making a choice, actually, like yogic philosophy, to be born to the parents that we chose, to then come into this life and have the experiences that we have, and then create like our personalities. And we get to choose now, like, okay, as I continue, how do I want to show up in this world? And I don't want to continue to blame something that happened to me when I was 3 fucking years old.
Yeah.
I just want to recognize that, you know what? Maybe this is poof. Maybe
You're
this
having a
is
moment.
self-worthiness kicking in. I'm not deserving of people treating me like shit anymore.
Yeah.
I do not want chaos, and I really mean that, anymore, because it's not that I'm above it, but I am. I don't need that anymore to learn that I'm worthy. I'm worthy
Yes.
without the chaos.
Yes.
I want to also say that Dana said she's married a narcissist, divorced now for 10 years, feel like I keep attracting the same kind of guy, and when I date nice guys that I'm not attracted to, I go back to the narcissist that is emotionally unavailable and not self-aware.
Yes.
And I think we were just talking about this. It's like,
Yes.
yeah, there you go. And
Like
she said
super uncomfortable with a nice guy. And I even have said, like, when it comes down to that, that you feel like they're boring. And then you're like, okay, but boring is actually a good thing. Because when you feel that, like, what we think is attraction and your stomach gets all going, that's actually your body saying, run the fuck away.
yeah.
And instead, we're like, ew, I think I might fall in love. Nah.
Yeah.
Literally, it's your body saying, no, don't do this.
Run.
Don't do this. This is unhealthy.
Yeah. Because Dana said she had a narcissistic mom. So, like, okay, so now we got it. But, like, that is really like what I just tapped into, was the self-worth versus the self-confidence. I created the story I'm unworthy. I'm unlovable. I created that.
Of course. And that we're the only ones who can also change that.
When I was 3. And now it's just like, yeah, I don't want to keep saying that it's my mom's fault, because I can add my ex-husband, I can add all these people, but it's like not even them either. It's just me continuing
Making
to
a choice.
settle or tolerate an asshole.
Okay, so let's talk about that really quickly before we close out of here, with what is it and how do we move through this to make better choices? Because that's going to be the question that comes, because I keep hearing you say, well, now we can let it go. And I remember being the person who would like listen to this and be like, well, here's my fucking question. How do I let it go?
Right.
Letting it go is that sensation of sitting with it, letting it come, feeling it wholly, like feeling that pain in your chest, feeling that uncomfortableness in your stomach. And then when it moves to your throat and you hold back that cry, that's pushing the energy back down. So allowing that to come out, allowing the noises or the feelings or whatever to come out your throat, and let you feel those things, and then let it go. Because every time you let that emotion go, you actually heal from it.
And logically, the logic always gets in the way of our emotional expression, right? That's stupid. This is ridiculous. Like, oh, this is so silly. Okay, first and foremost, those, goodbye. Because nothing that you feel is ridiculous, stupid, silly, or anything.
And you're calling yourself ridiculous, silly, stupid by saying those things out loud, which is going against your self-worth.
Yep. And then I really do think this is key to our healing. in the beginning, we do our acknowledgement. This is where this came from. Thank you so much for the realization of where I created the story.
Again, my pattern.
Not my mom, not my dad. I created the story. I continue to go out with assholes. And then I feel so judgmental too now of like really getting clear, because they're not assholes like on purpose. It still doesn't excuse it. But honestly, when I heal my self-worth, I'm not going to attract that kind of person anymore.
Yeah.
So
And I want to
need
say, don't feel like you're judgmental, because we need those people in this world. Otherwise, the world would be a really lame place. We
But-
all have a journey here, and that's part of their journey.
but not every, but see, even in that, I still think it's like it's off shooting and bad, like bad juju, because just because I think someone's an asshole, not everybody thinks that person's an asshole, or everybody's an asshole. So by me lumping based on my experience that I created, that I continue to choose, I'm not actually loving that person totally as they are, which is like the only reason that I'm seeing an asshole part is because our traumas rubbed weird. Right? And then
Yeah.
we went to pattern together. And that is that person's asshole pattern and my person's matter pattern. And so now here we are, and I'm just blaming them and they're blaming me. And so no, we're not moving on. I'm just gonna be like, fuck you, and then go get another person just like that.
Like them.
Do it
Yes.
all over again, right?
Yes. Yes.
Instead, I'm like, okay, I acknowledged it. This is where it came from. Great. And I made the story. And then now this is my pattern. My pattern is that I'm attracted to chaotic people or people with chaos, or I'm attracted to chaos. And therefore I'm attracting in people that are predominantly chaotic right now.
Yeah. Definitely. It's definitely a hard one to sit through as well, because now we're sitting in our own acknowledgement, and acknowledging your own shit is the hardest thing to do.
Right.
It's so much easier to point fingers and blame
Yes.
everyone else. But again, let's go back to this. When
Yeah.
there's one pointing at you, I've actually got 4 pointing back at me, because we're blaming someone else. And yet again, we are the ones who have created this. We're the ones who have chosen to continue this.
Right.
Or we're the ones who have chosen to change this.
Right.
Right. And now for certain people, there's going to be boundaries that need to be set in order for us to move through these changes that we want to make in our life. So we don't want chaos. We have to choose to set a boundary around the chaos.
How about with ourselves too? It's like,
Yeah. Even
think
if
we
it's
set
just you choosing not to
Right.
acknowledge or involve yourself in the chaos.
Because we set boundaries with other people, like this is not okay, or this is that, and that is that. And I am seeing that. But what if it's like also that the boundary is that I'm going to listen to that feeling in my tummy that I now know is not passion. It's a warning that you're about to do the same thing again. And I'm actually just going to remove myself from the situation.
Yeah.
Right? Rather than tell this person they can't talk to me like that, or they can't this,
Instead
or
of
they can't that.
expecting other people to change their behaviors to fit your boundaries, choose how you can be within that boundary. So for
Right.
me, it was that I don't want to choose this anymore. And that's how come I'm no longer, the guys that I've attracted since having that whole discussion about douchebags have been completely different.
Yes.
They are not douchebags anymore.
Yeah.
That being said, there's other pieces that I'm seeing about myself that I need to heal as I'm doing this. So it's a really interesting process of acknowledging and then making my own set of boundaries around myself and what I want.
So let's sum it up. Number 1, acknowledge.
Yes.
Number 2, feel.
Sit
to
with
heal.
it.
Feel
Sit
to
with it.
heal.
That's going to always be our answer to you guys.
Number 3, self-care, which includes self-boundaries.
Yep. Yep.
Thank
Sit
you.
with it. Number 1 is sit with it, sit with it, sit with it. Feel the feelings, acknowledge it, and let it move through your body.
I feel clearer in my own.
In your own chaotic
My own
ickiness
chaos.
right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel that.
So
Awesome.
thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
And yeah, thank you everybody for joining us and for your
Yeah.
feedback. We really appreciate it. We will continue to do these every week
Yep.
and look forward to seeing you guys next week.
Yeah. I'm going to. Thank you for joining us on this spirited journey today.
We hope you enjoyed diving into the world of self-improvement with us. Two sisters who found their own unique paths.
Remember, life is a tapestry of experiences, and it's how we embrace them that makes all the difference.
So whether you're on your yoga mat, exploring mindfulness, or simply navigating life's twists and turns, always keep that spirit and sass alive.
We are Colynn and Meridee Hlokoff, and we're here to remind you that happiness and abundance are within reach.
Stay connected with us on social media and keep those questions and stories coming. We love hearing from you.
Until next time, beautiful souls, keep doing the work, keep sharing your experiences, and keep living a life that's authentically you.
And never forget to add a little extra sass to your day.
Spirit and sass, always.